Labdien, cienījamie portāla Apollo skatītāji un klausītāji, un esiet sveicināti podkāstā Kas laukumā, tas uz mēles jaunākajā epizodē. Ar jums šodien kopā būšu es, Matīs Klimbergs, un mans kolēģis Mārts Gagalnieks.
Jā, čau skatītāji, čau klausītāji. Šis ir tāds īpašs raidījums, jo pirmo reizi vēsturē pie mums viesojas tāds internacionāls viesis.
Tieši tā, jā, tieši tāpēc šobrīd pāriesim uz angļu valodu, because our guest today is Lithuanian/British UFC fighter Modestu Bukausku. Hello, Modestus.
How you doing, mate? You all good?
Yeah. Great to have you here with us in this conversation. So let's start up with a little warm-up. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Modestus the man, because about Modestus the fighter, we will talk about him later on.
Yeah.
In the podcast.
Yeah. So obviously my name is Modestu Bukausku. I was born in Lithuania. That's why I mean, although I have a really strong British accent, I'm actually from Lithuania. And then I moved here when I was pretty much 3 years old. I've been pretty much studying martial arts since I was 5 years old. My dad being an ex-fighter himself. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I don't think I was ever much of like the outgoing type. Like I was always like really shy in school. Like I was never the cool person. I was always, like timid, and like, all the popular people never used to like me. Like, I was always, it's funny, for the most part of my life, I was always trying, or I was chasing for like approval by everyone else, when in reality, I realized that just being myself and letting my real normal personality come out was the way to get people's like approval and for them to like you and stuff like that. But realistically, like now, I think as time goes on, I think for most people, you realize that it doesn't really matter as much, what people think of you and stuff like that. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing and you're doing what you set out to do, then there's no problem. So yeah, I'm a hard nut when it comes to fighting in the cage, but outside of it, I'm a pretty emotional, easygoing, and pretty wacky character, I guess you could say. So there's me in a nutshell.
You spoke about your profession in one of your YouTube videos I checked, and you said that you are basically a guy who runs to the octagon half naked in his spandex and basically just beats up people until they submit. For how long have you been? You mentioned 5 years, right? So you've been running around half naked in your spandex for 21 years.
Yeah.
Basically. How did it all begin?
It's been an ongoing thing. Me doing that. It's funny, that actually used to be my. I think that used to be like my thing because I used to. I've got a girlfriend now, so obviously I'm tied down and everything. But when I was on the single scene, that used to be like my description, like my little description to sort of like introduce yourself to people. I would say that. So I don't know. It seemed to have worked back in the day, but clearly because now I've got a girlfriend. But yeah, now I've pretty much been I've been a professional since I was 21, and I was an amateur from 18 years old, pretty much. So I was an amateur for 3 years, and then obviously now I've been a professional for 5 years.
But would you say that it was put in your cradle, as you mentioned that your father was also a fighter?
Yeah. So pretty much, like, in the early beginnings, my dad was the Soviet Union no-holds-barred heavyweight champion. So obviously he was a pretty dangerous dude himself. So anytime he told me I need to clean my room or, do my chores, like, I would have no say in the matter. I would have to do it. Otherwise there'll be trouble, especially having that sort of guy. It's funny, I always used to be scared of my dad, but, like now, I guess you could say I've got a more, like, our relationship has grown over the years. Obviously, I used to be scared of him because obviously, like, he would tell me to do stuff and be very aggressive with the training and everything. But it's helped me with my life right now. But at the beginning it was all, let me show you some nice kicks. Let me show you some of this. Oh, look how cool it is. And then literally, I think, like I said, as soon as I hit 5 years old, he says, "All right, now, son, we must train hard." So, like, literally, again, I had no choice in the matter. But I'm very grateful that he I guess I don't know if you could say forced into it, but like, you know, I'm glad that he made me do all the specific types of trainings and having to, you know, go and compete at such high level and different things, because not only did it increase my portfolio for, you know, for my life and stuff like that, but you know, it just like, you know, sort of increased my confidence. It told me, you know, it taught me about self-discipline and following a specific rule set to show me that I need to work hard in order to achieve anything in life. So yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey, but loving all of it.
Okay, so we'll continue with a couple of more questions from my colleague over here.
Yes, I would like to know, who is your favorite fighter?
I think, do you know what? For the longest time, it was Jon Jones, just because, I mean, he was the youngest ever UFC champion, you know, and he came into the sport relatively fresh to the sport, aside from, you know, doing wrestling, and he managed to completely tear up the division. But I have to admit, as of late, I've really liked Israel Adesanya as well. So I'll have to admit, out of all the fighters in the UFC, Jon Jones and Adesanya are probably my two favorite fighters.
Okay, and how about the other type of sports? Are there
any other sports that I like?
Yes.
I love Michael Jordan. Obviously, I used to love watching Kobe Bryant. Obviously, rest in peace to him. American football players, I used to love Tom Brady, you know, one of the best quarterbacks. Who else? I mean, to be honest, like, it's funny, I never, like, everyone in England, they love watching football, but I've like, you know, like soccer as they call it in some countries. But for me, I've never really been like that crazy interested. I've only really been interested in the sports that I've been playing. So obviously I used to play a bit of basketball as well, so I got quite into that. Yeah, so any sport that I'm playing, I get like really well interested into it, but anything outside of it, I don't really watch too much of it. So yeah, everything aside from fighting now, like, I'm completely oblivious to it, to be honest.
No time for that, right?
Yeah,
Less
that's
time.
it. Literally. Yeah.
Do you know any Latvian athletes, including, of course, MMA fighters?
Yeah, Latvian athletes. Obviously, there's Misha Serkinov in the UFC, actually in my division. But yeah, I'm trying to think. No one really like comes and stand. Obviously, you know, Madas Fleminaz, as we've mentioned earlier, you know, he fought on the same promotion as me before. But yeah, man, like
NBA.
I mean, I guess you lot need to educate me on some other Latvian athletes, man. Do you know what I mean?
Do you follow Dallas Mavericks? Maybe.
Oh, Dallas
NBA
Mavericks.
team.
Yeah.
And they have a big dude over there named Kristaps Porzingis.
You're right. Wait, is it Porzingis or is it
Porzingis?
Porzingis? Yeah, right.
Porzingis.
All right, got you. Yeah. No, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's our most famous one. And in fighting sports, Mairis Briedis, a boxer. Maybe you have.
Yeah.
That's also our guy.
Yeah. Now as you're putting the names forward, now it's all coming to me. I couldn't get it off the top of my head, but as soon as you told me, now I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So yes, KP is like is the biggest star right now in Latin sport. That's for sure.
Yeah, in basketball.
And talking a little bit about MMA, what is your dream fight?
I've always said this. I've always said that my dream fight, like, I always want to fight the best fighters in the world. I want to, you know, I want to fight some of the legends of the sport and stuff like that. I've always said that, you know, like the guy that I've looked up to all the time has been Jon Jones. Like, he's been like sort of like my idol. And I think it's always in an athlete's mind to want to be able to fight their idol someday. So that would be like my dream fight, would be able to fight Jon Jones. So, you know, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, you know, I trained with him for a couple of weeks when I was about 22. And, you know, like, you know, we built a good friendship and stuff like that. And, you know, we trained in the training room. It's like you always want to, be able to actually compete in the octagon, and again against the greatest fighter in the world. What greater honor would that be? So that would be my dream fight.
Obviously.
Yes.
Okay, then let's move on to the next step, because you mentioned that you've been living in England since you were 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
So we could say that you are British, yet most of the time you are there in the octagon with Lithuanian flag, and you are also listed as Lithuanian. How so?
Yeah. So obviously, I was born in Lithuania, so.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't really judge by the accent or anything like that. But yeah, I know some other people, their parents or their family has Lithuanian in them. So they, I guess you could sort of say that the Lithuanian, but if you're talking about bloodline, properly, I was born in Lithuania and then I moved over to Britain when I was 3 years old. And realistically, my parents only wanted me to do really well in school over here, so that's why they weren't really putting much of an emphasis on teaching me Lithuanian too much, because they obviously needed to learn English themselves.
Obviously.
And at the same time they wanted me and my sister to learn and like I say, do well in school. So that's why we didn't really emphasize having to learn it too much. That's why, when people ask, it's like I can say things, I can understand things and stuff like that, but it's not exactly fluent or anything. But yeah, if anyone asks, I'm a fully born and bred Lithuanian, but as I say, most of the time I say born in Lithuania but bred in Britain. So I've got both of the sides to me.
So you mentioned Lithuanian language. It's not fluent, but is it there at least a bit?
Biškį yra.
Biškį yra. Okay.
Biškį žinau kaip kalbėti.
Biškį yra. It's the same for us.
And see, exactly, especially for Latvians, I can see the transfer. You can understand little bits and bobs. So even when you did the intro, there's little words. I'm like, okay, I can see where it sort of translates over. So. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been trying to learn. I think I get a little bit embarrassed when I'm speaking in front of people. Like when I'm sitting here in my room and I'm looking at all my notes and reading stuff or watching interviews and stuff like that. I feel like I know it quite well. But then when it comes to speaking in public or whatever, or with my dad or one of his friends from Lithuania or something, I always freeze up. I don't know. And it's for me, especially when I'm used to being in the spotlight and I can't even do it. But, I think it's just a case of I just need to keep, I need to just keep speaking it, and then it will slowly come together. But yeah, when people message me on Instagram and stuff like that, I normally can understand everything and just message them back in Lithuanian, obviously with the help from my dad, obviously on some of them. But yeah, for the most part, we understand it. So.
As with all languages, you have to speak them in order to be good with them. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about your nickname, the Baltic Gladiator. How did you come up with that? Did you do it yourself or someone helped you with it? What's the story behind it?
I think I had an interview with a Swedish site. I don't know if it's Swedish or Norwegian. It's called Fria MMA, and they actually came up with they said the Slavic James Bond, but then I talked to my dad, but realistically,
we're not Slavs.
Yeah, exactly. Lithuania, Latvia is part of the Baltic states.
Exactly.
So Baltic. So at the beginning he said, then he said, okay, well, what about the Baltic James Bond? I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess that could, that was sort of the first thing, because I fought for such a long time. I've never had a nickname. I never thought about, nothing really sprung to mind, or nothing ever really stuck. I was like, I wanted to have something unique, something that no one else has really had before. I can't be, I don't want to have a nickname that's already been given to someone. I want to have something a bit of a flair to it. So obviously I thought, I think someone made a picture for me, and he said, he said something about, oh yeah, he's a gladiator from the Baltic states, and I thought, well, do you know what? Why don't we just put that all together and make that a thing? And then next thing you know, I just kind of stuck with it. As soon as the UFC asked me if you have any nicknames or anything, I just stuck it on there. Then the first time, obviously Bruce Buffer, announced it and everything. And the next thing you know, that was it. I was the Baltic Gladiator from that day forward.
But you can be distinguished with this nickname, as you said, not many. Okay, Gladiator part, but
I think as well it represents not only Lithuania, but like I say, all the countries as part of the by the Baltic Sea. So I guess in a way it's like I'm not only representing myself and my country, but also like the countries around it as well. So I'm trying to reach out to, like I say, to a bit of a further audience. And in terms of just the Gladiator part, it's like I've got a bit of a no quit attitude in me. So I've had loads of setbacks and a lot of adversity, but I'll always go out on my shield and stuff like that. So that's where everything sort of just came together, and then it sounded pretty cool. So that's why I like I say, I just ran with it after that.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to ask, how did you become a UFC fighter? What was the road?
I think the main pathway to the UFC for me was being able to fight on Cage Warriors and becoming their champion, because it's been known in history that anyone who's competed and done well in Cage Warriors has ended up going to the UFC. So
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, exactly. The main one being, Conor McGregor,
to name one.
Dan Hardy,
Bisping.
Bisping. There's such a long list of names that fought through that promotion, and because they built such a resume of fighters that have gone through it, so now it's just like that's the main promotion that everyone looks for if you want to go to the UFC. And again, I was lucky that I had 5 fights. I was 4-1, and then I met with the president of the Cage Warriors, and then he offered me a 5-fight contract. And obviously, I'm not going to say our relationship has always been like handy dandy. I mean, at the beginning, when I had my first fight with them, and that was a fight that I sort of I was slated to win, and I ended up losing that fight. Then they sort of turned their back on me, and then I had to really get their trust back. And it's like, promotions, they want to do things for fighters who are under their management. And because I wasn't under their management, obviously I don't think the treatment of me as a fighter was as good as some of these other people. Like, I wasn't promoted as much. And then, I had to win a kickboxing fight after I come back from injury just to get their attention again, because we'd been asking for a fight for a while after I got back from injury. And then as soon as I won that kickboxing fight, then they gave me a fight on Cage Warriors again. So it's almost like I had to get back into their good books again. And then I went on a little run. Even then, they couldn't find me as many fights. And then I had to fight in another promotion. I won a title in another promotion. Then 2019 was like sort of like my breakthrough year. And then I asked, the good thing is anything we asked for, Cage Warriors did everything that we asked. So we said, we want hard opponents. We want to step up in competition. We want to show that we're, that we are world level. That's when they gave me Master Wojciech. Then they offered me the title because, that seemed like the next logical move since I'd won already 3 in a row in Cage Warriors. And then defended it. So pretty much the fact that there's so much of a spotlight on Cage Warriors from the US and for them, sort of feeding fighters to the UFC, that's how it came about. And, I see a lot of other fighters, which is a shame, they're struggling on certain promotions, but yeah, you got to fight on big promotions in your particular area. And then that's the way that you're, realistically going to get noticed. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Just winning fight. What you got to do is you're going to go on a massive win streak, win fights, have a good management, and then everything will fall into place.
But it's interesting that you said that you weren't promoted so much because, in theory, you could get to further many more people than an average English person, for example, with your Lithuanian background. That's the same. I spoke with Mothers. He said to me that he has people in other countries, not just England, rooting for him, and that's why Cage Warriors like to promote him. it's interesting that you said that they didn't want to promote you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really, want to go too deep into it, but I don't know. It seemed like there may have been a bit of animosity towards me for losing my first fight in the promotion, which is understandable because, obviously the guy who ended up winning, he ended up going a bit crazy and it didn't look very good on Cage Warriors. So I can understand what, maybe why they had a bit of a, they turned a bit of a blind eye to me. But, when I then keep winning fights and I'm, beating good guys and stuff like, I think it's mad. My last fight for them was my only fight on their main card, and it wasn't even a main event, and that's a light heavyweight title we're talking about. Like, technically the heaviest weight should always be the main event, right? So like I said, there's a lot of things with them, obviously, like if you're under the promotion, like if you're under the management that's run by the main promoter and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, look, they treated me well. They gave me everything I wanted. They got me to the UFC. So I've got to give them massive credit because they do get you well prepared. Like for you to go to the UFC, the transition in terms of, all the media and how you're being treated and stuff behind the scenes, like everything is very, very well and professionally run. And it is the most professionally run promotion, I think, in the whole of Europe. So I've got to give them a massive respect and credit for that. And the fact that it gave me the door to go to the UFC. But in terms of, I only really got, like I say, me as an athlete, personally, I only got really promoted once I won the title. Before that, really, everyone just counted me out. They thought, he's probably not going to win, or he's not going to get the. They all thought I wasn't going to win the title. They gave me the title shot for them to feed the other guy. But then when it went the other way around, it's like, oh well, now
what do we do now?
Yeah, it's like our plans have been shifted a little bit. And
yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's just a fight game, isn't it? That's just how it is. The thing is, I can't get upset about it because realistically, that's just how it works in this game. But it's like if they give you an opportunity, okay, go and prove yourself. So they gave me the opportunity. It was up to me to go and do the job. And the same way for the other guy, it was up to him to do the job. The fact that they've been pushing him. So at the end of the day, it's a crazy game, this fight game. But I love every aspect of it, man, because that's what makes it so interesting. That's what makes people want to watch. So yeah, and I think as well, me being on this TV show that I went on a dating show called Take Me Out, which is a British show. I think that also helped again to build my profile leading up to my last fight for the promotion. So yeah, man, it was a crazy roller coaster with them, but they gave me the necessary step in terms of competition and in terms of recognition to get to the UFC.
Okay.
Yes, so now you're in the UFC. I would like to ask, what does it mean to be a UFC fighter? Are there any restrictions, responsibilities?
Differences, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. The main difference is that you're under the USADA testing pool, which basically means that I've had a couple of occasions where, I mean, even when I had a knee surgery about 6 weeks ago, and they literally came 2 days after the surgery and asked to do drug tests. So they can literally just pop to your house. You got to write on your phone. You got to tell them where you are at all times. This app, and you have to say where you are all the time, and they can literally drug test you whenever they want. It's completely random, so you don't know when, but they could literally come and say, "Hey, I need your pee." Do you know what I mean? Just some guy coming in and seeing you pee into a cup. So that's one massive difference, obviously, and I'm very happy that they do that because it keeps our sport clean. The other thing I have to admit, everything's just very, very professionally run. They really look after their fight. In terms of any other promotion, I don't think any other promotion takes care of their fighters as well as the UFC does. In terms of, you have full access to their physiotherapy, like especially when I was on Fight Island, you have full access to all their nutrition and stuff like that. The Performance Institute in Las Vegas, you can go there whenever you want and stuff like that. Like, they really try and help the fight in terms of if you've got injuries and stuff like that. They're always trying to give you the best route to be able to get that done. In terms of medicals, they sort that all for you. Like, it's not a case of when you're in other promotions, you literally have to fend for yourself. You have to do everything yourself. Whereas in the UFC, they pretty much do everything for you. They do everything for you so that you can go out and compete at your best. So I think that's the main difference, is that in terms of how they look after you, it's just on a completely different level than any other promotion.
Yes, seems like really, really serious, high level championship. Yes.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're a professional athlete. Like, it makes you feel like you're playing for the NFL or the Premier League in football or something. It makes you feel like you're actually like top standard. Like I say, whereas when you're fighting for other promotions, you literally have to do most things yourself. Here, it's like they treat you like you're royalty almost, and it just makes it better. But then that's why you have the best fighters that come out of there, because you know, they're able to compete at their best and put most of their focus just on fighting. So it's a good thing that they do.
So you can say that UFC is the best MMA fighting championship, right?
100%, without a doubt.
Quality wise, also. I mean, fighter quality wise, because they say that not necessarily that the UFC is the best. That the UFC has all of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think there are, you know, like Bellator and, you know, other promotions. They do have really good fight. Like, the thing is, the world is so vast and there's so many great fighters out there. I mean, it's sometimes just a game of luck as to whether the UFC signs certain people. But if you're looking at the majority of the best fighters in the world, the majority of them are in the UFC. Like, if you look at all the rankings, most of the top guys that are ranked are within the UFC. But yes, there are also other great fighters in like Bellator and PFL. So it's not to say that, you know, UFC has all of them, but obviously, I would say that they definitely have most of the best fighters. That's where you're going to get the most recognition out of all the promotions. Like, if you go up to a random person in the street, most of them will know what the UFC is. But if you tell them about PFL or Bellator or something like that, you know, unless you're like an avid MMA fan, you know, you're not going to know as well as the UFC. And, you know, it's just something that we can't really, you know, do anything about. It's just because UFC's been promoted so well. It was the first promotion that came out, and these other promotions have come out a little bit later. So, you know, but in terms of, like the fighting, the pool of fighters, like I say, I reckon they just have the majority, not all of them, but they do have the majority of the best fighters there.
Yeah, when you spoke about people on the street, if you ask him about UFC, I think many people think that UFC is MMA. You know, it's a synonym for MMA in general.
Yeah,
you know,
saying
that
you get
UFC,
a lot of that.
it's the guys that are fighting. They don't even know that it's the name of the organization, not the sport.
Do you know what's funny? Because so many people would ask you, "Oh, do you fight UFC?" But I can actually say, "Yeah, I do fight UFC." You know, when people ask that for people who don't really know much about the sport, they always say, "Do you fight UFC?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do fight UFC now." Whereas before, you'd be like, "Oh, it's MMA." You know, you'd have to explain to them it's MMA.
Not in UFC, but do you fight UFC?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So another interesting thing I would like to know is, you know that, what is the process when you know that you will have a soon fight? How does your daily routine looks like?
In UFC?
Well, yeah,
yes,
so
UFC.
So obviously I have the luxury, and I'm extremely grateful for the fact that I'm able to train full time. I know other fighters have to have other jobs and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I do a bit of, obviously right now during COVID, it's pretty much impossible to do any personal training, but unless it's online. But pretty much I can put my sole focus on training. So I pretty much train twice a day, 6 days a week. You know, and it depends on the opponent that I'm fighting, where I put my main focus, or where I feel my main focuses should be, or things that I feel like I need to work on a little bit more. So for the longest time, I've been putting a heavy focus on grappling and wrestling and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, now I'm sort of bringing back my old striking roots a little bit more, but still obviously training like my grappling and stuff like that. But you in MMA, you have to be good all rounded. So I have to just train a mix of all the different arts all over the week. So, you know, like today I had jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and then the evening I'll have like my MMA sparring and tactics, and then on Tuesday in the morning I'll have my strength and conditioning, and then in the evening I'll have my boxing. So like then Wednesday I'll do do wrestling in the morning, then jiu-jitsu in the evening. So again, it's like you're just trying to build you're trying to build your different skill sets, you know, as much as you can over the spread out course of the week. And again, you have your own specific things that you're working on for your opponent. And not only that, like, and even then, like in the middle of the day, I'm constantly watching techniques, watching tape of my of the fight that I'm about to fight, and stuff like that. So, you know, but through the pretty grueling training sessions, if you have one that's like in the morning for about 2 hours, then usually, like, you know, I might take a nap, or, you know, eat some food, relax, you know, try and let my mind recover. But sometimes I find as well, like reading books and stuff like that for like self-improvement and like, you know, stuff about the world and stuff like that, like really helps. So yeah, it's just a complete mix. But like my whole day really is just completely indulged in MMA from all aspects, but both mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything around it. So yeah.
I wanted to ask about the question about the moment when you realized not realized, but that you were informed that you were going to be a UFC fighter. How it happened? What were the emotions? Just tell us a bit about that.
It was actually quite, I guess you could say, quite a stressful time. It was Christmas of 2019, and I was literally just training. Like my manager told me after I defended the Cage Warriors title, he said, "Listen, you could get called up last minute, so just stay ready. Just, you know, just keep training, keep doing your thing, and see how things happen." And, you know, and then I just really wanted another fight. I said, "Listen, can we sign for another fight for Cage Warriors? Like what's going on?" And he told me, "Don't worry, Modestu, just hold out, and then you know, I'm pretty sure something will come up." So it was a bit of a time where I'm like, I was just itching to get back in the cage again. I just wanted to know what was happening next. I had no idea what was going on, and then, you know, I was asleep one day, and then, you know, obviously you wake up in the middle of the night, you go to the toilet, you know how it is. You go for your mid-morning pee, you know, after drinking like 2 liters of water before I went to bed. And then I woke up and I checked my phone and I saw a message from my manager, and he said, "Modestu, you free for a call?" And like he like literally tried ringing me like 5 times. I'm like, he never usually does that. Like usually if he says something, he just texts me and then just waits till I respond. But he like tried calling me 5 times. I'm like, okay,
that's like, when you know.
Well, this is it. But at the time, I had no idea. I literally, at that point still, I had no idea. But I was like, okay, this is something a bit different. Clearly, there must be something serious. I don't know, maybe sponsorship, or I don't know what they were going to say. And then because I was already awake, I thought, because I was just going to go back to sleep and then call him later on. But then I thought, do you know what? I might as well just call him now. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then he goes, "Modestu, how you doing? How you feeling?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a little bit tired. I just woke up. It's, you know, it's the middle of the night, but otherwise I'm all right." And then next thing he goes, "How do you feel about fighting in the UFC?" And I'm like, and I literally was like, "Wait, what? What did you say?" He goes, "You heard me." He's like, "How do you feel about fighting in the UFC?" And then I literally was just like, no way. Like I literally said that for about, I'm like, seriously, like I couldn't. At the same time that I could believe it, because that was the logical next step that I wanted in my career. At the same time, I was like, this is surreal. Like, I can't believe it. I told him, I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting this phone call right now. Like, he says, "Yeah, we literally talked to the UFC matchmaker, and they said they really like you. They want to sign you." And then, yeah, that moment, it's like all of the hardships I went through, all the adversity, everything, like it all accumulated to this one point. I'm like, one thing that I had as a milestone in my life to be signed by the UFC, and to have such a tough road on the way as well, like to reach the pinnacle of the sport, it was like a really emotional moment for me. I was like, I literally had to keep pinching myself to tell myself that this was actually real. Like, but as much as, like I say, I was like really like shocked, and I wasn't surprised. I knew that this was going to happen. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. But when it finally did, like, I was almost like, and then I went straight to my dad's room, obviously. And then like my dad came in the room. I'm like, Dad, I've got something to tell you. And he was like, what do you want to say? I go, we're in the UFC, baby. And then, you know, obviously my dad, like, again, it was the same thing. It's like he had a massive smile, and obviously you could see like emotion, like how invested he was, and he was. But as well, he was like, well, we knew this was going to happen. For both of us, it was as much as there's a lot of joy, a lot of joy and, like, you know, happiness from the fact that we've done it. It was also just a sense, like, you know, it just solidified what we were thinking the whole time. We're like, we knew we were going to get here. We wanted to get here. We didn't know when, but now it's happened. So already from that moment, my dad was just like, okay, well, now we just got to get ready to, you know, now we're going to step up the train to make sure that you're ready for the UFC and fighting the best guys in the world. So, yeah, it was a very emotional moment for me. But like I said, at the same time, it was something where we knew we wanted to go to. So when it finally did happen, it was like, well, we knew this was the next step. So now we just got to be even more prepared for it.
Oh, so can you say it was the best Christmas gift for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, do you know what? It's funny. Yeah, it was right before my birth. So my birthday's on the 10th of February, and I think I got the call on like January 6th or something. So, yeah, it was like in between of my Christmas and birthday. But yeah, that was the best present for both of those occasions for sure.
So yeah, next question. Have you ever met the UFC president, Dana White?
Yes, I have. I've actually met him twice now. So both times when I fought at the at Fight Island, he was there for the weigh-ins. So obviously I got to shake his hand and everything. And then he was in like in the back. They do like a little meeting with all the fighters. It's basically like a pump up talk. Like he says, "Oh, come on, like, you know, you kids are here fighting on the world stage. You know, during this like, you know, he just does like a motivational talk. He says, go out there, earn your money, go get your big wins, fight your asses off, and stuff like that. So those are the only like real occasions where, you know, like, it hasn't really, as of yet, gone further than just a handshake and acknowledgement that, oh, I'm fighting this guy or whatever. But listen, further on down the line, when I go out and, you know, make a statement and you know, provide some impressive finishes and fights, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to talk to him a bit more. But yeah, obviously when I first saw him, I was just like, I can't believe it. Like, you know, Dana White, I've been watching him on TV all these years. And next thing you know, I'm shaking hands with him and facing off in front of him. So yeah, pretty cool experience.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have visited the Fight Island. What are your impressions about it?
Absolutely amazing. The first time we sort of were still trying to figure out where everything was, how to do things and stuff like that. But the second time was like, it was like an extended second home. We already knew everything. We were familiarized with where we had to go and what to do, like in terms of all the media and getting all the bags and stuff like that. So everything, we were much more familiarized the second time that we went, but their hospitality is second to none. I mean, I swear there must be like a 6-star hotel or something. Like, everything is immaculate. Like the staff there are so friendly and welcoming, and like they're always wanting to help you out and stuff like that. Like, I remember the first time that I fought there, I must have asked them for a bucket of ice, like, I swear to God, like 70 times. And each time they were completely absolutely okay. Even if I asked it like within 10, 15 minutes. So like, hey, how you doing? Here's your ice, blah, blah, blah. Like, they were so friendly and welcoming. And you know, like even like the physio and stuff like that they had, like the sports massage and everything. The UFC caters for everything amazing. But the W Hotel, obviously, the facilities were great. They had like all the rooms done up for you, so they had mats put in there. They had your own like saunas and stuff. So yeah, and Fight Island itself was bloody hot. The first time we went there was like 43 degrees centigrade. So it was really hot out there. But then the second time was a little bit cooler. Like, I think it must have been like maybe 30, 28. But again, it's not really that much cooler, is it? But yeah, no, it was lovely. I love the environment. You know, I got to get myself a little bit of a tan. You know, they had like a little basketball court there set up and stuff. So yeah, man, like Fight Island, the hospitality was second to none, and the experience was absolutely amazing. Being on an island that's pretty much deserted, like literally just for the fighters. You know, you can go to the beach that's on the island, and you know, see the cage on the beach and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a really amazing experience, and yeah, I think it was amazing as well to be able to experience it, as it was like sort of the first time that they had went out there, to be, you know, to be able to go down in history, like, you know, we fought on the first time that UFC went to Fight Island. You know, it's a truly gratifying and amazing experience in itself.
You mentioned that this is a island specifically for fighters, so that means that you can meet each other randomly. For example, do you recall any, you know, I don't know, conflict, so to speak, between guys? Because not everyone is in friendly relationship
Yeah.
with his opponent, for example, for the upcoming fight.
I think the hotel does a good job of separating the fighters. So they make sure that they're not going to the same place at the same time, or, you know, that they're not, you know, they put them on different sides of the hotel. So realistically, they're trying to make it as much as possible so that they're not getting in each other's way. And I think they do a really good job of that. I mean, the only time you're realistically going to bump heads with each other is when you're doing media stuff, and that's about it, or when you're doing photos. But aside from that, they try and make sure that you're going at different times and different schedules and stuff like that. So, I mean, I only saw my last opponent when I was signing posters, and then he came in the room afterwards to do the same thing. And like I said, it was just like, it was respectful. At the end of the day, we're like, we know we got to fight each other, so, you know, we saved for the cage, and he ended up being a pretty cool dude himself anyways.
Yeah, well, but not all fighters are like that. As we all know. For example, let Khabib and Conor in one hotel, and you'll see fireworks.
Oh my Lord, yeah, I didn't even know what would happen there. Yeah, but like I say, I think the people that they know that they have a bit more like a blood boiling towards each other, I think that, like I say, they'll make an extra effort to make sure that they're on different sides of the hotel, so they'll never bump with each other. But yeah, I haven't noticed any conflicts as of yet. So yeah, I'm guessing the UFC are taking quite a close eye on that.
Okay, so now we will skip to the part about Modestus the fighter. We have spoken about Modestus the man. We have spoken about UFC. Now let's talk about you as a fighter. You're a light heavyweight. I would say a pretty standard sized light heavyweight. Maybe towards the bigger part of light heavyweights. Tell me, how hard is your weight cut? Or is there even a weight cut? Do you have to cut it?
The first time I went to the Fight Island, I cut no water. So literally, it was all just pretty much just off of diet, and that was it. And I made weight. I was 205 pounds. I made weight easy. Like I didn't have to cut any water. I didn't have to do any sauna, any sweat bath, or anything like that. But the second time around, my dad was sort of a little bit, you know, he wanted me to be a bit bigger. He wanted me to actually have to have a little bit of a weight cut, because obviously the guys that I'm fighting are going to be, you know, they're going to have a bit of size on them at light heavyweight. You know, I walked into the cage at 209 pounds the first time I fought, whereas, you know, guys walking in at 220. So, you know, obviously he wanted me to be a little bit heavier. So second time round, you know, I had a good nutritionist on board, and we sort of we just worked to get me a little bit stronger, a little bit bulkier, and then yeah. I guess I had maybe a little bit more body fat as well the second time round. But yeah, I ended up going into my weight cut from about 215. So I only had about 10 pounds realistically to cut. And it wasn't hard at all. I mean, literally just a little bit of a workout, little bit in the sauna, little bit of the portable sauna, a little bit on the floor in the towels looking like a mummy. But then, yeah, we did that for like I think maybe 2 rounds of like 10 minutes each thing. And I made weight very easily. So it wasn't a problem at all, but I definitely had to rehydrate a little bit more the second time round. But yeah, I mean, I usually stay within the ballpark of around 220 anyways. I never really go further than that. I mean, I know some guys blow up like really big after fights and stuff like that. But when I'm in training camp and I'm in the zone, and especially now when you realize like you're a professional, you need to treat this as like part of the professionalism is dieting and making sure you're eating the right things and stuff like that. So I never go too far off my weight anyways. It's not a big weight cut at all. I actually think I'm a bit of a small light heavyweight, but to be fair, in terms of strength and stuff like that, reckon I'll be able to match any light heavyweight. So I'm all good.
So speaking about future, is there a debut in not light but heavyweight division in cards, or you'd say you're too small for that?
It may happen in the future, but I'm not even thinking about that right now. I reckon, like for me, that obviously the main goal is to win the UFC light heavyweight championship, and then you see what your options are. I mean, I reckon I could bulk up a little bit and then fight a heavyweight at some point. But realistically, right now, my goal is, especially for like the next couple of years, is definitely to do everything within the light heavyweight division. So. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out a move to heavyweight at all.
And what about middleweight, or too much of a cut?
I think it'd be too much of a cut right now. I think I'll literally have to chop off an arm to make middleweight now. I mean, to be fair, looking at how easily I made light heavyweight, without any water cut the first time, you would think, oh well, maybe you need to do the thing where you're cutting water, and but at the end of the day, why not just fight at your natural weight? Like, what's the point of cutting all this bloody weight? What? So you can get size advantage? I mean, what's that size advantage going to do anyways? Like I said, when I'm fighting like heavyweights now, like I feel like I'm strong enough for that. Like I don't need to be any stronger. I don't need to, obviously I can work on being explosive and stuff like that, but I don't need to be any bigger or anything like that. So I don't see how, maybe a 10-pound weight advantage is going to do much. Okay, yeah, if they get you on the floor, but still, you got speed, you got angles, you got maybe more cardio as well if you don't have to cut as much weight. So yeah, like I'd rather. I think it's a shame that some people cut like 20 pounds of water. I think that's way too much. I think
Paulo Costa, for example, your size guy. Probably.
Yeah. He's bigger than me. He's bigger than me, and he fights in weight class below.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't understand. I mean, like I said, you should fight at your near enough your natural weight class. Yeah, I understand if you get a bit like in terms of out of shape, like you just eat whatever you want. Yeah, fair enough. And then you have to cut down to make the weight. But then when you cut down, I don't think I think most fighters they should probably weigh in before their weight cut to make sure that they're not cutting too much water weight. Do you know what I mean?
It's exactly my thoughts. I've been a big advocate for fighters fighting in their respective divisions. Not respective divisions, but in divisions that they should be fighting. For example,
100%.
For example, Paulo Costa in light heavyweight. Obviously, that's the place for him, and where he will probably go when he becomes older, and the body doesn't cooperate as much anymore.
Yeah. That's
probably.
That's it.
Okay, let's talk about your next opponent, and I'm gonna probably butcher his name. Michal Oleksiejczuk.
Oleksiejczuk, yeah.
Oleksiejczuk, okay. So, that's his name. What can you tell us about him? Have you studied him? Probably.
Yeah, of course. Me and my team have been studying him meticulously, watching what he's doing and figuring out what sort of things I need to do from all aspects, from the floor to the wrestling, to the stand-up. He seemed like he's been more of a... He seems like he's been more of a stand-up kind of guy. He pressures forward. He's got a heavy back, heavy rear hand. I mean, I've seen and I've heard that, he's been working a lot on his wrestling and stuff like that as of now, which is, understandable from the situation from his last fight and the fight before that. So, I never rule out anything from any opponent. Obviously, you go to people's tendencies and stuff like that. But, yeah, man, like he's a very tough fighter. He's very heavy-handed. And he's durable. So, but like I say, any opponent that gets put in front of me, I'm going to figure out a way of how to beat them. And I already know I've got the skill sets to go in and beat this guy.
He's a lot smaller than you, shorter than you.
He's 6 foot.
6 foot. You're listed at least as 6'3" now.
Yeah, I'm 191, so I'm 6'3".
191, yes, and 6 foot. That's about 182, I guess. So that's more or less 10 centimeters. That's a pretty sizable advantage, I'd say, no?
Yeah, I think I've also got a 4-inch reach advantage from
That's
from
also
what I know.
that's also plenty.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I've got quite a big leg reach as well. So I mean, look, realistically, I mean, yeah, you put those things into play. That those would definitely help and stuff like that. But again, I've been working more on strategy and making sure that I've got like the particular game plan and stuff like that. And it's just working off of that. It's like you have a game plan in mind, but then if something switches in the fight, you just got to switch, adapt, and overcome. And yeah, like I say, I do believe that my overall skill set is better than his, and that's it. That's what I'm going to go out and show. I'm going to show out and show to the people that I am the better fighter and that I'm ready to go and fight these guys in the top 15. So this is the fight for me to do that, and I know it's going to be a hell of a battle, and I'm ready for the fight. I'm ready to go in there and do the business.
So
You mentioned top, yeah.
So yeah, quick question. What is your signature move?
My signature move.
You can't say it.
You'll see in the fight. Put it that way. I'll throw out my special, because like I say, I need to go back a little bit old school. So that's all I'll say is that for this next fight, I'm going a bit old school, and that's what's going to bring out a flair for everyone when they're watching. And you'll see that special move getting thrown, no doubt.
Point it to the camera, point your finger to the camera. Oh yeah, good. This was the move. This was the move. But you mentioned top 15. Does this fight, for example, a win in this fight brings you to top 15, or do you reckon you have to win a couple, maybe one or two more?
I reckon maybe one more fight. But at the end of the day, listen, if a guy in the top 15 takes a fight, takes a fight with me, then obviously I'm going to be more than happy to go in and take that fight. But at the end of the day, you got to work your way up the ranks. Whatever the next logical step is, I'll take it. He's ranked from what the rankings I can see, I'm 38 and he's 22. So look, going in, I'm never looking past any opponent, obviously. But look, after I finish my opponent here, I'm going to go out and whoever they give me next. At the end of the day, you rack up your notoriety by beating people. So whoever they have in front of me and whoever thinks that they're going to go and beat me, I've got to go out there and shut them down, and that's it. And go and prove myself. And then like maybe this fight, maybe one more, and then go and crack someone in the top 15. So look, I think I'm ready to fight guys in the top 15 now. But obviously, I've got to work my way up and prove it now on the world stage. So. Look, I took a risk in my last fight and it didn't pay off, but now I've realized the things that I need to work on and change, and that's it. And we're working accordingly. And the journey is an amazing thing, and I'm enjoying the journey. So like I said, I've got all these fights on my contracts, so I'm gonna keep going and just keep picking them off one by one.
Number 10 is Misha Sirkunov, so an all Baltic duel
somewhere
in the future.
Well, this is it. These are all fights that are all going to be possibilities in the future, man. So, like I say, whenever these particular challenges present themselves, I'll be ready for it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were injured last year, right? You had a surgery. Is everything fine right now, or are you still recovering?
So I'm pretty much fully recovered. I mean, even the doctors were quite surprised at how quickly I managed to recover. My physio said 4 days after surgery, she was like, "You're almost 2 weeks ahead of schedule after 4 days." So I don't know what kind of magic treatment they gave me, but it seemed like my body responded very well to surgery. But yeah, I had it. I think it was maybe the 6th. I can't remember what day in December it was. I'm pretty sure it was like the 16th or something. But yeah, and like I said, I pretty much went back to full training on the 1st of Jan, so I wasn't really off for that long. And I've just been tackling now, going day by day, training as normal. So I've been very blessed that the recovery has been very fast, and I feel like I was before, like nothing's affecting me at the minute.
That's great to hear. Okay, let's talk about the light heavyweight division a bit more, specifically the championship fight. As we all know, that Izzy Adesanya is going up a weight to face Jan Blachowicz. Stylistically, I think stylistically it's a good fight for Izzy, because obviously if Jan catches him, Izzy is going to sleep, obviously. Will he catch him though? Probably not. So I think Izzy could just outpoint him just like as he did Romero the couple of fights back. I don't think it will be a fan-friendly fight. Don't get me wrong, but I think at the end of the day, Izzy will be able to outpoint him. What are your thoughts about that fight?
I definitely agree in the fact that the legendary Polish power. If one of them connects on the chin, man, it's not a good day for Israel Adesanya. That's for sure. But listen, you can never count this guy out. We all thought Dominic Reyes was much faster than Jan Blachowicz, but Jan Blachowicz made him seem like the superior speed fighter. He was catching him on the back foot a lot, and then that's where he managed to land that lovely left hook. So I think, if you're looking at who's the better striker, obviously it's definitely Izzy. He's the more technical striker, but sometimes, technique can go all out the window whenever you got, like I say, other attributes like speed, timing, power. So, obviously Izzy's very good at moving, and I do agree that it seems like it would be probably going in more the direction of Israel Adesanya, but look, you can never count out the Polish power because, like I say, the way he's been performing lately, sometimes momentum is all you need in a fight and stuff like that, just to get you going and to pull off the best performances of your life. So that may work towards Jan's favor, but obviously at the same time, Israel Adesanya is riding a massive wave as well. So
he also has the momentum.
It'll be interesting to see as well what the power difference will be. Maybe he'll work to get into the clinch, or what sort of tactical things are they going to do to try and take away Izzy's prowess with the striking, which he clearly has. So it'll be an interesting fight. I do think it'll go to the decision, but I mean, look, I'm rooting. I don't even know, man. Like I say, I don't like to give out too many predictions, but I say either it'll be a decision for Izzy or a win by stoppage for Blachowicz. So that's the way I see it playing out.
Obviously, you can't be rooting for the middleweight, the smaller guy moving up a weight and taking out your champion.
Of course.
You got to go with Jan. No, but I think that there was an example of a similar fighter when he fought Costa. I think also a guy with great power, and if he connects, you are going to sleep. So I think I could see it going the same way. Maybe not with the technical knockout, but as I said, outpointing Jan.
I think Jan's more loose than
obviously Costa was tight. He got in his head easy, I think, too much.
Like Jan's very loose. He's fluid. He's using his attributes to his advantage. So I think that's where he's going to be a lot more stylistically a problem for Izzy to deal with. But look, as time goes on, like I said, I just can't wait to see that fight. Especially, I think, since it's going to be in the smaller cage as well, from what I know.
Yes, I think also, it was. But
so that'll be interesting as well.
The Costa fight was also in a smaller cage, no?
No, that was on Fight Island. That was in the big cage.
Maybe.
I think that was in the 30-foot cage. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, I will not argue. Maybe I got my facts wrong.
No, that's all good.
Okay.
I'd like to bring back the topic about Jon Jones. What are your thoughts about him moving up to heavyweight division?
He's got a hell of a lot of athleticism. His wrestling is next level. Like when I felt his power in the clinch and stuff like that, he is one of the best wrestlers in the division, but without a doubt. He's got very, technical, sneaky striking, like flamboyant as well. If he brings his flamboyant and his athleticism, which he clearly will, seeing from the videos and stuff like that, he will do very well in the heavyweight division. I think he's going to bring a bit of a speed advantage as well, and maybe even a bit of a technical advantage in the heavyweight division as opposed to all the rest of the heavyweights. So, that being said, and his wrestling is probably going to be better than most of those guys, apart from, like Curtis Blades, his wrestling is pretty good. Cardio as well. I mean, some people say that when you move up in weight, your cardio goes down. Obviously, he's going to be working to negate that as much as possible. And, if he fights the way that he does, he'll be a lot more loose. He'll be a lot more, he'll have loads of like more different techniques to be able to use at his disposal as a apart from some of the other fighters. But yeah, man, like I say, he's a beast no matter what division he fights in. But I think it'll be like a breath of fresh air for him, fighting in a new division and a new sort of environment. So I think that will probably give him another bit of an edge as well. So I mean, look, I see him doing well in the heavyweight division.
Who can beat him?
Yeah,
in heavyweight. How do you think?
Who I think could beat him? I think Francis Ngannou seems like the guy that would be able to beat him. And I know you're probably thinking, oh yeah, well, there's not much said about his wrestling and stuff like that. But, you know, Francis Ngannou has got like tremendous knockout power.
Tremendous.
So, you know, especially like you see some of the other knockout that he's done, if he swings a good shot on you, you know, the one thing that obviously is the reach. I'm not sure what his reach is, because Jon Jones has a sizable reach advantage on everyone in the roster. So I mean, in comparison to me, mine's is 78, his is 84.5, so he's got like a massive reach advantage over everyone. So
yeah.
that could be another factor. But yeah, obviously if it gets into close range, and he did get clipped against Reyes as well. So
did he though? You count that as a? I think that was more of a push. I don't think he got rocked in there. I'm talking about that punch.
Yeah, I'm talking about in terms of the fight overall, not that particular punch where he got dropped. More the sense that he was able to get in range to connect on Jones a lot more. Obviously, last couple of rounds he was sort of more running, but in the earlier rounds he was definitely getting in a lot more. So if Francis Ngannou can do that with his power, I mean that's going to be a bad day. That's going to be a bad day for Jones. But I think that would be the most interesting matchup in my opinion in terms of the heavyweight division. And to be fair, you can never rule Stipe out, because bloody hell, that guy has got strategy, tactically and strategically. He's always got a great game plan. He's got very good hands. He's got good wrestling. He's a very all-rounded fighter. So those two fights are probably the ones where I see being the most difficult for Jones.
Obviously, because he also has a great coaching staff, because you can never forget about the way in the second fight against DC, when they switched up the strategy in, I don't know, fourth round, and it resulted in KO. So props to his team also. Yeah, also, obviously, those could be I see those are as the only two fighters that could. Actually, I would even say that Stipe is the only guy who can take him, because we saw how Stipe dominated Francis when they fought each other. Technically just out-wrestled him.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think as well. Obviously, since obviously they're fighting again on the same night as me. Funny enough, I think it will be a bit of a different story this time around. Well, I'm hoping that obviously Ngannou learns his lesson this time. But I think a lot has been done in terms of Ngannou's side on his wrestling and stuff like that. So, like I say, it could be a completely different fight. But then again, Stipe may go in with a different game plan. So again, you never know with MMA.
You never know,
so a lot of things can change in between the times of when these guys fight, and it could create completely different fights. And but that's why it's interesting. That's why we're all tuning in to watch.
Exactly. Now, of course, you can only judge and predict from judging from what you have seen, obviously. Yeah. So that's what we're going off.
I get you. Yeah.
Okay. A little bit about recent events. Max Holloway versus Kelvin Kattar. Damn, was that a brutal showing. From Max Holloway. A couple of things here. During the fifth round, he turned to the commentary table, pointed his finger to his good friend Daniel Cormier, and said, "I'm the best boxer in UFC. I'm the best boxer in UFC." Probably there were some swear words as well. I didn't catch it quite cleanly, but that's what he said. Do you agree with his assessment that he is the best boxer in UFC?
He outboxed the boxer. I mean,
probably, yeah.
Like Calvin Kattar is an extremely good boxer, and he's shown his boxing ability against some of the best fighters in the division. But Max Holloway just basically did the same thing back to him. But again, I think it is also because Holloway did some things that boxers don't do, which is using straight line kicks to the body, straight line kicks to the leg, and then that helped him set up and move his head and off angle and do certain things. Like Keita was very planted on his feet, getting ready to land those big shots, which he did. He caused some big shots. I mean, you can't
knock out Holloway.
Yeah. I mean, you can't deny that he had that he landed some good shots, but of course Holloway was always moving. He was moving his head, moving around, cutting angles, like putting his combinations together. So I mean, look, if you're talking about the best boxer in MMA, he made a pretty big argument for that just from that performance. I mean, the amount of shots that he landed again against a good boxer, slipping his head, moving out of the way, and against some of the other. I mean, the other fight that he had that was difficult was against Poirier, but I mean, and again, and Poirier's boxing is really good. So, I think he's a damn good a boxer. I mean, I think there's too many really good guys with their hands to be able to say who the best boxer is in MMA. I mean, you've got Conor McGregor as well, who's a great boxer. So, there's a lot of guys who would be in that talk as the best boxer in MMA, but he definitely made a hell of a good argument for that in that fight.
But when I was watching the fight, there was two things that came to my mind. One, why was Kelvin not going for Max's legs? Because Volkanovski showed that picking off Max's legs can be fruitful. That was one thing, and the other thing was I thought that during the fourth round, when Kelvin was against the wall and just getting smothered with shots, I think it should have been stopped.
Yeah, I think it. But you know what? I think it was Herb Dean was the referee.
Herb Dean, but he is known to stop fights early. That.
I think for was it a main event, especially a number one contender fight? I think if he saw that Kelvin was at least covering up and still throwing shots back, I can understand from his point of view, you'd want to let it go on because, it's quite a high profile fight. So you want to give the guy a bit of a chance. There's obviously the other side that bloody, he took a lot of damage. So,
Too much.
From that side, yeah, you could argue as well that, it possibly could. I mean, I generally thought it could have been stopped easily in the third round even, like, you know what I mean? So there's definitely, he took a lot of damage, and also I do find it interesting, that you say it is true, that he didn't really kick to the leg that much, but at the same time, you've also got to see that anytime he did try and kick to the leg, Max Holloway just slipped out of the way. So I don't know if that was something that he was consciously working on, but he was always one back step away from those low kicks. So that's why it never really took a massive, thing on Holloway. And as well, Holloway was side kicking the knees and stuff like that. So, there's so many other aspects that go into that. But I definitely feel that fight probably could have been stopped earlier. But at the same time, it created for a very entertaining fight, and fight of the night honors and stuff like that. Gave Calvin another 50 grand as well. So so it was
medical expenses.
Well, but that's what I'm going to say. It's like, where are you spending on? You're going to spend it on to fix a broken nose and all sorts of other problems. But it was an absolutely amazing fight. But it was a clinical masterpiece by Holloway, especially in the boxing side, mixing up body to head to using the kicks as well. So it was amazing.
But let's put aside Herb Dean and talk about Conor, Kelvin's corner. Do you think he should have been let out for the fifth round? I think no. I think the corner should have thrown.
This is a difficult one. Because
he was clearly done.
If you're the fighter, I understand. If you're the corner, you should obviously want to look out for the welfare of your fighter. But then there's obviously the other side of your fighter wanting to go out there and still want to go out there on the shield and prove himself. I know it's a bit of like just a sense of pride as well to go out there out on your shield and put on a performance up until the final bell. But obviously you've got to look out for the safety of your fighter. But in that respect, it's the referee's job to notice that. If things are going not very well, then it's up to the referee then to stop it if he thinks it's really bad. I mean, if Calvin sat in the corner and said he didn't want to go out, then I would say it's just difficult, because if Calvin sat there and said, I don't want to go out for the 5th round, but as a trainer, you want to get the most out of your fighter. You want to say, no, like, you know, you almost want to tell them, no, like, come on, man up, like, go out there, like, finish the job. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different arguments to it that realistically you can't put your finger on it until you're in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe when you're in there as a fighter, you always wanted to go out there and compete and go till the final, you know, the final bell. So yeah, like I said, I think it's more the referee's job to notice that someone's hurt really bad in order to stop the fight.
Yeah, well, Herb probably would have gotten a lot of smack if he had stopped it at the 4th round when I mentioned at the moment. But yeah, I think it was debatable, obviously, and he chose to let the fight carry on, and the result was no different. Kelvin was getting pummeled for 7.5 more minutes. Okay, so we have come to our conclusion of this lovely conversation we're having. So finally, this week, we have probably one of the biggest fights of this year, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. So each of us will give predictions. I will start with my colleague, Marts. What are your thoughts on the fight, how it goes, and
I
who
think
wins?
it's kind of a tough question, but I think Conor will win because he seems more calmer than ever, and then we all know how smart, how intelligent fighter he is. But on the other side, maybe Poirier gets lucky, and who knows? Maybe everything is possible.
As Modest said, everything can happen.
Yes.
To me, I will quote Jon Jones, who said that he doesn't think that Poirier has the chin for 5 rounds against Conor, because Poirier has taken a significant amount of damage throughout his last fights against Max, against Hooker especially. You know, I don't think that a man walks out the same from fights such as Hooker against Poirier, Holloway against Cater. You know, you come out a different man from some fights like this, and that's why I don't think that. Don't get me wrong, I respect Poirier. I think he's a great fighter. He has beaten very tough opponents, but Conor, I think Conor will beat him by technical knockout, and pretty early on, I would say.
Yeah, I reckon. I think I'll agree with you, Mattis. I think Conor McGregor, he's got insane punching power. His boxing is very, like, Dustin Poirier's boxing is good, of course. Like, he's gotten much better since the first fight, but I think I don't know, like Conor's mindset, the way that he comes into fights, the way that he pressures forward. I think and like you said, Dustin Poirier's taken a lot of damage, and you know, a left hand from Conor McGregor is different from a left hand to any other fighter. So. You know, if he obviously when he lands and connects, and you know they'll come in with a good game plan and stuff like that. He seems very focused. I think Conor will go away with the finish, probably within like the earlier rounds. But you know, as I say, Dustin may be able to slug out, and you know maybe he'll play. Who knows? He might not even. You know, he might even play a different tactical game plan. Might go for the takedown instead. Who knows? But yeah, in my opinion, I reckon Conor will win it by TKO.
You know about those takedowns? Everyone said that Alvarez will take Conor down. Everyone said that Nate, for the second time, will take him down, which he did a couple of times, but basically stood there with him. You know, people always tend to say that, and his ground game is not that bad, Conor's. I mean, his takedown defense, I would say, is above average. But people tend to disrespect that part of his game. He's gotten a lot better throughout the years in that aspect of his game.
Oh yeah, I definitely think his takedown defense is absolutely amazing. I mean, especially against Alvarez and even against Khabib in the first round. Like, you know, he did a really, really good job. And it's funny because I feel like, you know, he was saying like they were focusing too much on defense, and yeah, I think that was right. They didn't focus enough on offense, and I think that can definitely the same can be said for me in my career. In my last fight, I was focusing way more on defense, and now I'm focusing more on both sides of the game and even more into the offensive side of things. So I think that in itself, the fact that Conor's going in with that mindset, like, you know, you're able to stuff takedowns even better whenever you've got that mindset as opposed to just defend, because this guy's got such a good attribute in his but like I say, you know, maybe mixing things up with Dustin might be able to throw Conor off. Like, who knows? But it doesn't seem that way. Like, from what we've been speaking. Yeah, it doesn't seem that way from what we've been speaking just now. So, but yeah, obviously, we can't wait to watch that happen. It'll be an amazing event.
Obviously. Okay, Modest, thank you for your time, and I have to wish you best of luck in your upcoming fight. It was 27th of March, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I will definitely be tuning in to watch your performance.
Yes, thank you, Modestus.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Listen, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. I had a really good time. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to speak again soon in the future.
Yeah, okay. Labi, paldies, skatītāji, ka bijāt ar mums, un tiksimies nākamnedēļ, un goodbye, Modestus.
Nice one, brother. You take care, yeah.